Today, we're going to talk about how organics, specifically cottonseed meal and alfalfa, can be a great addition to your garden. The roses love it. In addition, your soil loves it. It acts as a soil conditioner. Soil health is improved. The earthworms love it. And when you look at the NPK ratio, that's the amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, it's not all that high. 621 for cottonseed meal and about a 312 for alfalfa. You might say, Eric, those values are not that high. That's okay. You're building the soil and it's slow release. In the case of cottonseed meal, many months to completely break down. So you're building soil health, and it's got some other goodies. In addition to the primary nutrients I just mentioned, it has the macro ones as well, such as magnesium and calcium. So lots of good stuff. In the case of alfalfa pellets, that also releases something called tricantanol. It's a growth stimulant. So Christian's putting these into the bucket right now. Alfalfa meal or pellets can be bought pretty easily. The meal is pulverized, unlike these pellets, so it's a little easier in terms of breaking down. But I go for cost efficiency. This bag you see here at Tractor Supply, only $25. I've seen a lot of pricier stuff online, upwards of $50, and it can be more expensive per pound in smaller quantities. So go get yourself a nice big bag at a farm supply or local store. It will tend to be much more cost prohibitive. Matthew right here is spreading out some of the cottonseed meal. Christian's doing the alfalfa pellets. They're doing the same thing, a circle around the bush. You don't want to get it right on the bush itself, the crown or the bud union. You want it to be a nice ring around it so the roots grow toward it. And you can work it into the soil a bunch of different ways. You can certainly use a hoe, but I would recommend using your hands, especially in the case of having basal breaks or new growth down near the bush. So in this case right here, I've got my garden gloves. The boys got the alfalfa pellets kind of close to the bud union, so I need to pull it back a little bit. That's what happens when you have some labor in the garden. You got to go with it. So I'm using a hoe right here, but I'm nervous about that basal break, so I elect to use my hands with gloves and pull it back just a little bit. Again, a nice circle around the rows itself. Huge believer in organics. Again, you're building the soil health over the long term of the garden. And in my case, I need that slow release fertilizer because I have about 100% sand in the garden. So if I put something down like a 10-10-10 or Miracle Grow, it has its utility in the garden, but a lot of that's going to wash away pretty quickly. So this is what it looks like after we've fertilized. Again, you can't really see the organics. You want to incorporate them into the soil as much because the microbes will break those down and turn that into some nutrients that the plant can uptake. So you want to really scratch that in. Don't just throw it and forget about it. Try to scratch it in as best as possible. And these are new leaves on the plant in the spring months. This organic fertilizer, especially the alfalfa pellets, it also releases a growth stimulant, an alcohol called tricantanol. That will provide a lot of good growth, a lot of lush growth on the plants. So again, those NPK numbers are not going to be really high. You're not just talking nutrients for the plant, you're also building the soil health for the future. In summary, we've spoke about how cottonseed meal and alfalfa pellets are great for the garden. We emphasize that you should buy larger quantities at a local store, much better cost than those smaller bags you can get online. And then sprinkle it in a ring around the roses and be sure to scratch it in so the soil can work on those organics and incorporate them into your plant. When should you apply them? As early in the spring as possible. That gives it time to break down. Ideally, like in this case, and this is why I got the boys to help me, the weather forecast was going to be for a lot of rain. So that's a great time to get these into the garden.